Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing my favorite romance books that feature a reverse harem. Alright guys, so I'm going to be completely honest with you. I never thought I was going to be making this video. So I tried out reverse harems last year and I started with this big guy. I do not recommend doing that. I would ease yourself into reverse harems. So I gave them another try and this has just been like my summer of reverse harems. I've read so many and I'm loving them. So I have 5 books picked out. These are my absolute favorites. There's a mix of like fantasy romance, like really dark reverse harems, and then some like more slightly lighthearted ones, and romantic suspense. So anyway, there's a good mix. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about my favorite reverse harem books. Alright guys, and I totally should have mentioned this in the very beginning, but if you don't know what RH or reverse harem means, it is one woman with multiple male partners. So we are going to start off with fantasy romance, and we have Broken Bonds by B.B Reid. This is the first book in the Bonds That Tie series. I am currently obsessed with this series. If you are a fan of Zodiac Academy, definitely pick this up. I'm listening to this via audio, and only the first 3 books have been released when I'm filming this, and it's just so addicting. So this is following Oleander, and in the very beginning of the story, we find out that Oleander's mother has 3 bonded. So we learn that in this world, bonded is kind of like bonded mates. So you have a central, or they call them a central, and it's a woman who has multiple male partners that she feels like very strong emotions towards, and they can actually make their partner stronger. And it's just like this beautiful connection. So anyway, unfortunately, while driving, Oleander's entire family is killed. That's not a spoiler, it happens on page like 2 or 3. And she ends up going on the run, and we find out she's actually trying to stay away from her bonded mates. So she's a fugitive for like 5 or 6 years, and then her mates find her and they bring her back, and they are not happy that she left. So it is a bully romance, paranormal, reverse harem, fantasy, and it's glorious. So please, if you have not picked this up, if you are a fan of reverse harem, you will absolutely love this. It's so good, and I cannot wait to read the next book. Alright guys, and then the next up is a rockstar romance. So this is Lilac, and this is by B.B Reid. This is a standalone. It is pretty chunky, but it is so much fun. So we are following Brax, and she is an amazing guitarist, so much so that she ends up auditioning for this band called Bound, and she gets the job. Unfortunately, the 3 members of Bound hate her upon seeing her. So she has to survive going on tour with these members, and they are going to make her life absolutely miserable until they kind of start to take a liking to her, and then it goes from there. I will say my biggest critique with this book is it didn't have to be quite as long as it was, and the ending of this book kind of feels like it came out of left field. Like, it feels a little disjointed from the beginning, but I loved the relationship of this band, and it is super spicy. I would check trigger warnings. There are a couple things that like might be triggering for some people, but overall this was really, really fun, and I highly recommend. Also, if you're a fan of rockstar romance, I have a full rockstar romance recommendation video I will leave in the cards and in the description. Alright guys, so moving into romantic suspense, we have the St. View Prison series by Elle Thorpe. This is the first book, Locked Up Liars. I was so nervous to jump into this series. I am not personally a fan of people on covers, and I wasn't sure how I was going to like it, but I binged all 3 books in 2 days. This series kept me guessing, and the relationship was perfect. So this is following May, and she ends up going out to a bar with her sister who she lives with, and they end up seeing her sister's ex-boyfriend, Heath. So the sister gets out of there, but then May and Heath kind of start up a conversation, and we find out that May's always kind of had a little bit of a crush on Heath. So she brings Heath back to the house. They end up drinking an entire bottle of tequila. Don't recommend doing that. And then when May wakes up, she finds Heath in bed with her sister, and her sister is dead. So May immediately freaks out, calls the cops, and Heath is arrested for her sister's murder. Now, May knows Heath is not capable of doing this, so she ends up contacting a lawyer, and this reverse harem is actually between May, Heath, so a civilian, a inmate, and then the lawyer, and then a prison guard. And I just loved the relationship in this so much. So like I said, this book really kept me guessing. There is so much action and drama. It definitely has that whole romantic suspense feel. But this author spends so long going into each character's backstory. I just loved the relationship so much. So I will say this first book isn't super spicy. However, by the third book, it is one of the spiciest books I've ever read. So definitely check trigger warnings, or if you're not someone who's really into that, just be warned. But overall, I could not recommend this series enough. If you're a fan of romantic suspense, definitely pick this up. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. This next one, I'm actually not a huge fan of. However, it's very unique. So we have The Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, and this is by Kathryn Moon. So I actually read this as part of a monster vlog that I will leave linked in the cards and in the description. So this is following a woman who ends up being offered a position to work in this manor. And when she gets there, she finds out that it's really kind of like a brothel, and all of the clients are monsters. So she ends up having a reverse harem relationship with like a vampire, a werewolf, a golem, a invisible man. And it is super spicy. I will say about 85% of this book is just her kind of doing it with monsters. So just be warned of that. There is a little bit of a plot, happens really towards the end, so I wasn't a huge fan. However, this book seems to be beloved by a lot of people. So if you are a fan of monster romances and you haven't checked out Reverse Harems yet, I feel like this would be a good place to start. All right, and then last up we have the darkest book on this list. So The Dancer and the Mask, this is the first book in their obsession duology. I will say, I have only read the first book. I finished it last night. I haven't started the second one yet, but like I said, this book is so dark. So heavily relies on the captor-captive trope. There is this girl who's actually able to see the future, and she keeps seeing masks in her future, but she doesn't really know what that means. So then she ends up being kidnapped by these three guys who happen to be wearing masks, and they take her to their castle. I'm pretty sure it's in Scotland, and it's completely isolated, and there are these numbers, and the numbers are actually other women that they have kidnapped that are all very good at a certain skill. So there's one that throws knives, there's one that's very good at playing the piano, and they just collect these women. So I think I'm gonna kind of leave it there. I don't want to give away spoilers, but our main character does have a birthmark that she's kind of ashamed of, and we find out that the masks also have things about them that they feel aren't perceived as beautiful. So I kind of liked that part of the story. I was not prepared for how dark this book got in terms of captor-captive, a little bit of non-con, some other things. Check trigger warnings. I don't know what I can say and not say without getting demonetized, to be honest with you. But definitely check trigger warnings before jumping in. Overall, it might have been a little bit too dark for me. It's borders like Hunting Adeline territory. But if you want a super dark reverse harem, definitely check out Their Obsession duology. All right, guys, those are all my favorite reverse harems. Please let me know down in the comments below, what is your favorite reverse harem? I love getting recommendations. Now, I said this already, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!